wild in a world that wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. Feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, go like thunder, gonna shake the ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Milam. I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Northern Eagle Distributing, proudly serving Anheuser-Busch products to West Virginia. Oh, I was trying not to laugh. I'm sorry. That was Loverboy. I was shocked. He's a Canadian singer. I guess it's been a few years. I think I've gone blank and I've lost a few decades. And all right. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Wolfman's Call. Sorry, I should have done that. I should have. All right. I have to know my limitations. But that was Mike Reno. Think about that. A man called Reno, huh? I don't know. Go figure that one out. But that's Lisa Love. Everybody's working for the weekend, baby. Well, you're coming off the weekend. Hopefully it was a great weekend for you. And you're ready to go on this Monday, ready to kick it off. Par-Mar stores, man. We got Northern Eagle Distributing. I'm going to bring on the panel right now just to save face right here. Let's go. Darryl Prue, WVU Hall of Fame Hoops. What's up, TP? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. You all right?
All right. Frank Fear, author, historian, Band of Brothers. Frank, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. We got some off-camera stuff going on there. So.
Oh, my gosh. That is crazy. How about this? Al Johnson. I know this was a Loverboy fan right here for sure. Al Johnson, USA, straight to Hall of Fame and Conditioning, CSCCA, Chief Executive Officer of Development. What's up, brother?
What's up, Wolf? What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
All right. Al, are you Loverboy? Is that you?
Oh, yeah, that's me. That's all over me. That's on my number one on my playlist.
You know, I think we used to play that in the weight room, right? Or at
the intro, yeah. Oh, yeah, no question.
We walk in, everybody's working for the weekend, baby.
Yeah.
Pump up those guns. And we got Hawkeye, Keith Hawkins. Hawkeye, how you doing?
I'm good. Wolf, I thought that was Dusty Rhodes for a minute.
Oh, my gosh, that is beautiful. This is going to be a big Monday. There's no doubt about it. Let's get into a couple of things. We've got some big announcements. I want you guys to be a part of this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. And let's get right at it. And this is just beautiful. The Wolfman's Call Network. And let me pump this up here. Look at this. 3 big new additions, man. You can't go wrong here. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Calacino's in Beckley, West Virginia, added to the WolfMan's Call Network. How about Danny's in Princeton? Calacino's, you got Jeff Weeks, you got Danny's, you got to say hello to Paige. Big shout out, Paige, down there in Princeton, West Virginia. And we have the Pitch Sports Bar and Grill in Dunbar. And we'll be coming up with another one here shortly. I didn't want to put it out until I know for sure, but that puts us at 16 off the bat for the WolfMan's Call Network, and we got big news coming with that. We're going to do some really cool things. I'll announce that probably tomorrow if I can get it done. And let's go ahead and let's just ring it in with everything else right here. This is so cool right there. Yep, there we go. Look at this. Let's start it off, man. I'm looking at Calacino's. Yeah, I'm telling you, the weeks there, big time. Archies in Carson City, the evil empire, right in the heart of Pittsburgh there. That's right. And Route 22 Sports Bar in Weirton, West Virginia, right on the border, man. It's so cool. Love it. They got 12 50-inch screen TVs. They got the pump system in there for the network, the beers, man. It's kind of crazy cool. And then you got Legends out there in Gizzy at Cheat Lake. Hit those golf links, man, at Legends Sports Bar and Grill. And then we got Keglers. Hey, is that royalty, DP? Is that royalty?
Oh, yeah. It's big time, man.
Keglers royalty, right? I mean, that's it, man. WVU Sports. I don't even have to ask Keith Hawkins because he's always had the Wolfman burger. Yeah. And then, of course, we got to hit Steve Reeser. He's really cool. He's with the Mason Jar Saloon and Hot Spot in Morgantown and the Mason Jar Barbecue and more in Fairmont. Button your britches, man. That is some really good stuff. You got Mel right there on Oakland Street, man. She must be going crazy. All those new freshmen are coming in right now, right across the street there. Awesome. Mel at the Tap House. What is up? Yeah, we got Jimbo's. We got two of them. Elkins. Buckhannon. We were there last Monday going live, man. That was really cool. And the wings, man, I still tasting those wings as they were awesome. Awesome wings. Awesome Philly sandwich. Philly steak sandwich. Unbelievable. And you got the Pallet, Teays Valley. Again, big news coming up with that and all the WolfMan's Call Network, all the fine establishments that we have. And there's the Pitch in Dunbar. Yeah, so excited. So cool. We're taking over South West Virginia now. We got the North going. We need a couple more places. We need Parkersburg. We need Wheeling up there. Hopefully we get one of them. And how about that Brickside Bar and Grill? Buddy Rob Davis down there. I mean, this is just growing and growing, fellas. It's like Loverboy. We're working for the weekend, so we right here, baby. I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty awesome.
It's real awesome. We need to get some down this way, down in Charlestown.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got to hit that. We got to hit Martinsburg, right?
Yeah, Martinsburg. Yep, we got to hit that.
Oh, are you guys fired up? Are you ready? We got Freight Fear here. We got the Freight Fear Hour. We got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff over the weekend. We're going to talk here. Nicco, Garrett, Greene, talk about maybe what's the best fit. A lot of people have a lot to say, and we're just going to handle it head on, man. Head on, because that's what we do at the WolfMan's Call. Man, I tell you, I just fired up. I was excited. How about this? Hey, Timothy Greene. Yo, what's up, man? It's going to be another great show. 100. You better believe it, because look at there's Darryl Prue. You can't get any better looking than that. I'm going to pull it up. All right, there we go. All right. Hey, how about this? Kelly McCourt. Kelly, listen, I was supposed to come and see you this weekend in the hospital. I am on my way, brother, after this. You're Ruby Hospital, man. You keep hanging in there strong. I think about you. Man, if you guys would have known my weekend, the flat tires, you don't want to know. All right, don't want to know. But awesome. So Kelly McCourt, very good. All right, so Frank, this is the Frank Fear Hour, as we like to call it. Not really an hour, but we're going to give you a little bit of time here. Oh, but I forgot one thing. I did forget one thing. Check this out. And we're going to bring this up. This is, I put this out over the weekend. I just really thought this was cool. And I really wanted to get this up because it's not every day. So I do want to give a shout out. If you can listen to my brother Terry, Craig Wolfley, or brother Ronnie, Pony Boy there, if you can listen to them, please do so because they're the best in the business. at color analyst. They're the best. Craig's up there with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Steelers radio network, and Ronnie is he was on the NFL Network during preseason, but he's there with Dave Pasch. 22 years with Dave Pasch. Craig's been doing the Steelers stuff for about 25 years, but he was most of the time on the sidelines with Tuncher there. Tunch passed away. Craig moved up to the box, and then Pony Boy's been 22 years up in the box with Dave Pasch, who, of course, ESPN, Bill Walton, all that good stuff. All right, so a lot of shout-out. They are the best. You know what? If you can listen to it, listen to them because they're really good. All right, so here we go, Frank. It is your turn, man. What do you want to start out with? You want to start out with, let's see here, the promo. You want to do the promo here, man?
Sure.
Here we go, brother. I got it. I got it all covered, man. I'm still trying to recover from Loverboy. I'm sorry.
Well, Greg Christ is no stranger to people who are into sports all over West Virginia, and we owe him a debt of gratitude. Like you, Wolf, you've been really supportive of the Band of Brothers and the book, and so we figure turnaround is fair play. So this Wednesday, you can watch a live broadcast on the Sports Channel through Facebook, and we're not going to roast Greg Christ. We're going to toast Greg Christ. And for those of you who watch the New River Network in Southern West Virginia, he does Courtside with Greg Christ. We've been on the show a number of times. You have too, Wolf. And so great guy. And it's a way of saying thanks. So appreciate the support.
Did you be on the show?
Yeah, I was on the show about a year ago.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just so you all know, I was the first guy on twice.
That's right.
I was the first one, but number 2, baby. Uno, dos. Go ahead, Frank.
That's great. So thank you very much. Yeah.
We have a Band of Brothers here as well.
Yeah, we're going to have Charlie Fisher, who's been on the program with you, and Mickey, of course, Plumley has been on the program with you, and they're going to co-host with me, and it's going to be an hour or so of a lot of fun.
Did I ever tell you the time I had Mickey? He wanted to talk. It was fun, and we had all the coaches in with Coach Bowden, and Mickey wanted to talk, and he had one too many drinks. And just that one, I shouldn't let him have that ass one. I had to go get him in the cane and pull him out. I'd be like, all right, let's go. He wanted to talk. He would be talking. He'd still be talking right now. Mickey, I love you, Mick. All right, let's go. And we'll keep going with this rock and roll. What else we got here? We're going to start off with this here. Oh, the chart. Let's do the chart.
Okay. I'll tell you what. You get that up there, and it's something that Keith and I have been talking about, Hawkeye, Wolf and I have been talking about, and now it's getting a hell of a lot of play around the country. I don't know if great minds think alike or it just takes time to sort of dig in. But one of the things, I guess the hypothesis, you used that word a couple of weeks ago, Wolf, is that it's maybe not the big four. Bob Herzl had a great article about a week or so ago. Maybe we're morphing to the big two. Oh boy, the data. And Wolf uncovered another source this weekend with respect to recruiting, and the data are shocking in terms of the recruits being pulled in by the Big Ten and the SEC, and the gap between those two conferences in the ACC and Big 12. And I want to throw something at you, Wolf. We didn't talk about this offline, but someone asked me the other day, well, wait a minute now, all this star crap, 5 stars for, how important is it? And so I said, hey, scholars study this stuff, believe it or not. And I found a great study that's being actually circulated among athletic directors that almost 40% of success of major college football teams is accounted for by recruiting and recruiting only. And that study was not done just by wins and wins percentages. It was done it included strength of schedule, so that big wins count more than smaller ones. 40%. And so what I've got in this chart is you've got a repeat from last week, the money being spent by public universities, top 25, and then recruiting for 2024. And if you look at this chart, you start with the SEC, you can see just about every team except UK, Kentucky, that are in the top 25 nationally on athletic revenues shows up in the top 25 recruiting classes as measured by rivals. Big Ten, you see a diversion here. There are 4 schools at least in the top 25 funding that aren't in the top 25 recruiting, including one of my schools, Michigan State, that's in the, I think, the low 40s, high 40s actually. Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and Michigan State. But so you got 7 of the top 25 recruiting classes in the Big Ten, but you got more than that, 3 more than that are in the top 25 in terms of funding. ACC, hey, why are Clemson and Florida State upset? Because they are the power brokers of that conference. It shows up both in terms of athletic revenues and also in terms of recruiting. FSU's in the top 10. Clemson is awfully close. And then you got it bolstered by the privates. We don't have any data on spending for the privates. They're not required to report. But you can see there that Notre Dame and Miami are right up there. And then the drum roll is you look again at the Big 12. None of the Big 12 schools in the future configuration is in the top 25 in terms of athletic budget, and only one, UCF. I told you about a month ago, watch that school. People tend to say, well, Central Florida, come on. It's Florida State. Get this, and you and I were talking about this over the weekend, Wolf. They have 8 4-stars coming in next fall. They're coming in, the class of 24 at UCF, and nobody in the Big 12 is close. That's why they're in the top 25. But look at the recruiting rankings for the rest of the Big 12. I was shocked at Colorado. They're projected to be, by ESPN Power, ranked last this year in terms of performance. It's a prediction of all of the power schools, major schools actually, and they're 64th in recruiting. You got University of Houston, which I'll tell you, it's a big question mark at 90. And so the bottom line here is that we're beginning to see evidence of the possibility of 2+2, the Big 2, and then the other 2 power conferences remaining with essentially the Pac-12 gobbled up with some leftovers not yet affiliated. I'll stop there.
All right, very good. Well, here we go. So, I mean, you look at K-State 91, though. I mean, they didn't do so bad. They won the Big 12 last year. I mean, there's anomalies here, but I understand what you're coming from. But what you're showing is that SEC and the Big Ten is far ahead in every single way, case and shape. But let me just say this. 40% of recruiting is basically what you're saying, Frank, with that is with the making up of recruiting and winning and all that. It's the Jimmies and the Joes. If you have them, you're going to win. Okay, no matter how many great coaches you have, if you got the Jimmies and the Joes, and we talk about the star system. So, Al, let's go talk about the star system because, you know, it's not the star system. Somebody said, I actually put Nicco up there saying, listen, this is who's offered Nicco and why I think he's special. It's not about the star system. It's not about being a 4-star. It's about the talent that backs it up because people like Jim Harbaugh make up millions and millions of dollars. It's their lifeline. It's their lifeblood as coaches. When 40-plus Power 5 schools offer you, it's not because of the stars. It's because the talent they see that actually back up the stars, and that's what they see. They're going ahead and putting their knowledge, their money, all behind those offers. And to me, it's not about the stars. It's about the offers because those are the ones that I trust to judge the talent. Go ahead, Al.
Well, there's no question. Well, I mean, that's the thing that you think about the foundation of WVU. Let's say, talking about football. I mean, you know, the thing that, you know, Don Nealon did for 21 years is being able to find diamonds in the rough. I mean, you look at the early years. I mean, look at the number of players that played from 80 through like 88. I mean, there's kids on that team that weren't recruited by Pitt. The kids that were from Pennsylvania that weren't recruited by Pitt or Penn State. And the thing was, you know, that I think as a coach, I think that it's you got to be careful not to get caught up in the star system. Here's a 3-star, here's a 5-star, etc., or the affiliation of, hey, they're recruiting. I mean, you take a prime example, Anthony Becht, who ended up being an All-American at West Virginia, went on to play, 10, 12 years in the NFL. I mean, came in as a 214, 215-pound tight end, went on and left at West Virginia at 265 pounds, and was he a second-round draft pick. But the star system, I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't – your eyes as a coach evaluating talent, the stars, I mean, I don't know if they resonate that much with coaches. I mean, they do once you get them in and you can put another notch in your belt and say, hey, we've got 5 stars, et cetera. But when you're looking at the film doesn't lie. And it's all about projection. What's their potential? What's their projection? And that's probably the toughest part of recruiting is projecting a player and also trying to define the competition level they're playing against day in and day out.
Well, no doubt about it. So, Hawkeye, let's go right to you with that. I mean, you're representing knowing the fan base. What stars to you? Are you worried about stars? Are you worried about offers? Are you worried about both? What's your deal?
I probably lean more towards the offers.
If you're smart.
The more offers that a player gets, it shows that coaches recognize talent. They see something there, they're willing to put their money up front and say, hey, come to our school. As far as the recruiting numbers I'm looking at, I understand exactly what Frank's saying, and I agree. But we also know, look at Texas A&M a couple of years ago. They had the number 1 recruiting class, and they went out and stunk up the field. So,
well, there's no doubt. And Frank, when you think about that, because I don't know where TP went. I don't know if he thinks he's just waiting for his basketballs. I don't know. We're not paying attention, walking around. I mean, just because it's not basketball, DP. You're supposed to have some thoughts on football. In fact, all this time I've been portraying you as a basketball guy with football knowledge.
I'm listening.
All right. Well, let's get you into this conversation, man. It applies to anything in sports.
Right.
Is it stars? Is it offers? I mean, anyone can sit there and say stars when you think about it. And I'm not going to sit here and rip. I think Keenan Cummings is really good at his job and knows exactly what he's telling. He's seen a lot of players. But I think through years and years, you develop of seeing what you recognize of what's what in a player. All right, but there's a lot of people out there that have not been trained heavily like Keenan has, and they're out there saying, well, this guy is this and that, but it's about the offers, man, because they're the ones that really tell the truth.
Well, I look at it like this. I think a lot of coaches are lazy. So they use the 5-star and the 4 stars, the people who are getting ranked. That sometimes you got to sit around and watch, like you said, the train. Know what you know. A lot of people don't know what they know. They rely on other people to recruit other people. And it's big in basketball too. I mean, we used to have arguments all the time in Georgetown. I like one guy better than the other. Because he played good in the tournament don't mean he's that good. We had guys that show up and come on that campus and play good and didn't play, the whole time they was there. It was just a flash in the pan. And I think everybody get caught up in the wild part of it. Oh, look at him. He's this and he's that, but he doesn't pan out. You know what I mean? He doesn't want it. You got to you got to sit there and watch, evaluate. You have to talk to people. You have to do a whole lot of different things. To talk to people that's not even around basketball. Somebody inside the school. I used to sit in the stands and ask questions. You know what I mean? Like to kids, what you think? Yeah, what you think?
They'll tell you the most, won't they?
Yeah, they'll give you a whole lot of information, not even knowing who you are. You know what I mean? Not wearing I went in and not wearing the school I was with, just to figure out what kind of kid it is, because you don't want somebody who's treating kids bad. They treat kids bad in high school. It's only gonna get worse in college.
No, there's no doubt.
Hey, Wolf.
What's that?
Wolf, think about how many number 1 picks in the NFL wash out.
Well, that's different. But think about this. Look at the portal. Look at the basketball team. They got guys. Oh, he was 2nd in the portal. He was 5th in the portal. He's this. He's that. And last year we got all these kids out of the portal. Like, okay, the pro game is way different. And I'll tell you this, way different in both sports when it comes to basketball and football, because of the speed, the athleticism, the mind. A lot of those guys are smart.
Right. I'm just saying how somebody evaluates a player.
Yeah.
and they say, we're going to make this guy our number one pick, and he washes out, it's still a gamble.
Yeah, no, it's a gamble, but like sometimes you don't know if that guy loves the game. A lot of those guys, they love the money. They want to get the fruits of the
true,
game.
and that's very true.
That's the hard part to learn, because if you're around them enough, you'll figure it out. But if you like you just said, Keith, going on the wild stuff, oh, he's this, he's that, he's this, and you don't see his work ethic, it'll fool you.
Now, you got to remember, guys, here we're not talking about an individual player. This is looking at programs. So the focus is the program. And what struck me about the study I read is they did an analysis over 15 years. 15 years of recruiting data and 15 years of outcome data using the Sagarin ratings, because what Jeff does is he uses strength of schedule. So I agree with you on individuals. I mean, I was at Michigan State, as you know, for a number of years. And I'll tell you, if there's a guy that coached people up, it was Mark D'Antonio. I've mentioned this. Le'Veon Bell was a 2-star coming out of high school. Kirk Cousins was a 3-star. Yeah. But that's at the individual. This is the program level. And also what it says is, and this is the thing we talked about with Coach Brown, if you're living on 3 stars, you got to coach them up. You can't be lazy. You got to coach them up. There's no way you're going to be competitive. So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, because I agree with you in terms of the individual. But the data here are program level, not individual.
Okay. No, you're right about that. I mean, like in my opinion, I've been trying to get on the West Virginia staff to help with the develop their bigs. They don't get better. They're good, but they don't get better. So then the kid goes to Kentucky, gets some development, and he becomes the player of the year just off of some development. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't. A lot of old school coaches, back like when I played, and even some guys are still coaching now, will only do plays, do the development in their play. Step in, get an angle, lay the ball up. They don't teach individual moves. When I was at Georgetown, I was allowed to teach individual moves. You might use it once a game. You might use it twice a game, but you may use it. But it cannot be new to you when you use it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Let's go here. Okay, so let me throw this at you, and then we're going to move on to the next subject. But last thing is, you're talking. We keep mentioning Colorado, and I keep thinking to myself, I haven't said this out loud, but Deion's doing the great experiment. Deion is the great experiment. There are 2 great experiments going on right now in college sports. One is Deion Sanders. Is he really caring about recruiting high school guys when he recruits transfer portal guys? I mean, he just did his whole team not by recruiting high school, but by recruiting transfer. So I don't know how much he's putting in stock there. I don't know. We'll have to see how that turns out. The other great experiment is taking a guy like Josh Heiler and making him a head coach. No, seriously, this is a great experiment, D. I'm telling you, it's like you're going to put him in the best basketball conference at 2.5 years of coaching with 4 guys or 3 guys that don't even make up 10 years. Okay?
They only make up 5.
Okay, this is a great experiment. I don't care, because again, if this is all really going 2 conferences, okay? Again, hear me out, all of you, and Hawkeye, I got to throw this at you. All right, 2 conferences. This is where this is supposed to be going. All right, they're going to take the best from the other conferences to create and go bigger with the 2 conferences. They might have 16, 18 teams each conference, maybe 20 teams each conference. If West Virginia wants to be able to hang, don't know if it's possible with the size school that we are, okay, and they have to win. So again, you say, well, it's 1 year only. It's interim with Josh. Well, I don't know how many years you got left before we know what the end is in the big leagues, the big 2. How many years do we know? I mean, is that reasonable, Al? Is that a reasonable question?
Yeah, I mean, it's reasonable, but I mean, are you looking long term? I mean,
how long term? I don't know.
Will they get long term? I mean, you're looking, okay, let's say you have a successful year this year, and then next year it tanks. You don't have a great year. So, I mean, when you talk about the two great conferences in terms of that, I mean, we're based on the information just for football that Frank gave us, which I thought was awesome. We're ranked 41st overall in recruiting. I mean, so, and you look, is West Virginia. West Virginia's not even a player in the media factor as far as like being a big media market. So all these things, it all comes down to one thing. It comes down to the almighty dollar.
Well, that's
how can you help one of the two conferences become more powerful? And from where we're from, and we can say this, and we're biased. We love West Virginia, but are we ever going to be able to get in that game? Are we going to be able to get in those two conferences based on economics, based on the media market, and they're going to look at that ranking of 41st and say, they're on the bubble.
Well, that's why you better win.
There's no question.
We haven't been winning. The last 5 years, we have a drastic win mark in the Big 12. And Neil Brown's 22 for 25 in the last 4 years. I can't remember what the Big 12 win is, but it's less than that. Okay, so it's like 16, 17 wins in the Big 12 to what he had. Okay, so let's go ahead. I just wanted to finish it up with that. Colorado with Dion. Great stuff, Frank. But we also want to talk about that 88 team because you want to talk about that Penn State and that last. So, Frank, let's go ahead. Let's start the next conversation.
Well, it's good to talk about the actual stuff on the field. And last week we had a lot of fun looking at the 1953 team, WVU Mountaineers, which really, I think, catapulted WVU on the national platform. Had a great team, great year. Pappy Lewis, a great coach, all the way to the Sugar Bowl, first major bowl bid where they played Georgia Tech. Well, think of that 88 team. Wow, great team. Great game against Penn State. We'll talk more about that. And obviously a great season playing Notre Dame in the national championship. And a guy named Wolf, I think, was around back in 88.
Talking about me. Well, yeah, I was around. You know, I was around Mike Greene from Loverboy.
What struck me about this 88 team, I'll tell you, we all have memories of things where we were at a time. And I remember, this is going to sound odd, I was watching, as a lot of us do, the political conventions back in 88, and Arch Moore, who was governor at the time, was introducing the vote on the floor for one of the candidates for president. George Bush got the nomination. And he gets up there, and he's not talking about the votes from West Virginia. He's saying the West Virginia Mountaineers are going to win the National Football Championship. And I'm there going, wow, they're going to be that good, and boy, were they good. Undefeated going into that last game against Notre Dame. Major Harris gets hurt, and, the national championship eludes them. But the reason why that 88 game, and I'm flying over the 84 game, is that's the biggest win ever for West Virginia over Penn State. 51-30. 51-30. And it was 41-8 at halftime. And West Virginia scored a touchdown on a run with 3 seconds left in the first. Can you imagine that, Wolf? You know that.
I was there.
And it was and who was it under? I think it was under Johnson.
It was B-Dog, under Johnson.
50 yards with 3 seconds left. You're Penn State. Oh, man. You're looking for the parking lot, not for the locker room.
Major Harris had people flying out of the picture with the crossover dribble.
Yeah, I mean,
he go that way.
Big win, and it was the last time. We haven't played Penn State for 31 years. That was the last win in the series, which is really sad. It's going to be the 60th time this September, but there's been a 31-year gap, and so that's that. We're going to talk later about the jabbering going back and forth in the national media about that. But I just want to end with two things that I thought were interesting. First of all, and you know this, Wolf, I like to go back in time. I went to the New York Times, and I wanted to know what they were saying about this game. And the reporter at the end interviewed Don Nehlen, and he said, well, what do you think about this game? And he said to the reporter, hey, we just hung 51 points on Penn State. Was there ever a time that anybody hung 51 points on Penn State? The reporter didn't know the answer to the question, so he researched it, and I've got it here. I think it was Navy. Navy hung 55 points on Penn State in 1944. Were they playing with 11 guys on a side back then? I don't know. Anyway, so I asked myself the question, has anyone hung 51 or more on Penn State since '88. And I'll tell you what, I learned a lot about Penn State. First of all, I didn't know this, or didn't remember it. They had 4 out of the first 5 years in this century, they had 4 losing seasons. Only I've got it here. Where is it? In 2000, 2001, 2003, 2004, Penn State had losing seasons. That blew my mind because that losing season in '88 was their first losing season in 50 years. Their last losing season then had been 1938. So to answer the question, anybody want to take a guess? Has somebody done more than 50 points on Penn
State?
Okay, that's a good one. You're right. Anybody else?
Frank, you're going to tell Michigan State, right?
No, they've had 51 points scored against Michigan State, but not. Anybody else? Michigan put up 42 in 2018.
Oh, wow.
One team, this is a storyline. A team called the Cornhuskers. They put 44 points on Penn State and lost in 2017. The prize, USC, put 52 points, Wolf, up on Penn State in 2016. So we're not going back in time much. But the winner is Wolf. Ohio State put 63 points on Penn State in Columbus in 2013.
Wow.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know the difference between Will Rogers and Will Robinson from Lost in Space. I know football. All right, I know football. I own that one too. I own that Will Rogers comment. Danger, Will Rogers. No, danger, Will Robinson. All right, I promise you, I would take it, and that's for sure.
Can I say one more thing about this? I know we got to move on real quick. What I couldn't figure out about that Penn State team, they didn't lose. And look at some of the plays on that team. Sam Gash was fullback. He had a great pro career. Blair Thomas, Gary Brown put up a lot of yards against West Virginia. O.J. McDuffie was a wide receiver. They had 6 players taken in the 1989 draft and a guard. You know this guy, Steve Wisniewski, Wolf. Yeah, was a guard. He was taken in the first round by the Cowboys. And this goes back, I think, to what Hawkeye was talking about. You can have all that talent, but if they're not coming together, it was a team. They didn't have the losing season was like, I think 5-6 or something like that. But the fact of the matter is, with all that talent, they did not beat West Virginia that year. They did not beat Pitt. They did not beat Syracuse. West Virginia beat all 3. Wow. Hooray for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, we kicked their cans in '88, and we took no names, and we just kept walking because we got a guy named Major Harris.
Hey, Wolf.
And we had a
I got a stat for you, Wolf. I looked this up today, knowing that Frank was going to be here talking about the '88 team. You guys realize that '88 team, you talk about playing smash mouth football, physical football. We averaged 54 runs a game, 278 yards on the ground. Is that good?
That's good.
That's the average. We only averaged 18.8 passes a game for 188 yards. Average 18.8. So you're talking 278 yards on the ground. So we were lining up, and if you look at that offensive line, and Wolf was just a pup. He was just a pup going on that team. Look at what they did with Wolf knows the names of all those guys that started, but I thought that was an amazing stat. Those things, those days like that, in terms of lining up, not spreading the field and just going toe to toe, you don't see much of that anymore.
Yeah, it was crazy because I remember I was second team in that, but I had more reps than Bobby Kovac.
Yeah,
because we just killed everybody and we all played. I actually, because I switched out every series or every other one, whatever it was that for that game, but I actually had more reps than Bobby did. It was crazy. I remember that. And it was we brought 2 lines. We actually had 2 lines on offense, 2 lines on defense, and we just kept killing people, killing them. And that's what we did, is you beat them up on the line. And that's why when we talk about Penn State this year, folks, when I tell you something, they have an offensive line, they have a defensive line. Hawkeye, 88 quick. Give me your thoughts.
Greatest team we've ever had, 88. I mean, come on. You guys, you had to come back and win a few, but yeah, you guys were solid. I think if Major hadn't got hurt, national championship game would be a lot more interesting.
Well, I
have a question.
Here we go, Darryl. Go ahead. Tell me about Major Harris.
I love Major. So from what I heard, the cover 2 gave y'all some problems because them corners stayed in. They didn't move from the line. So it's hard to run. It was hard to run outside on them. Is that true?
Yeah, you know what? It was hard to run anywhere on them because that team was legitimately a national championship contender. I think we battled them. Y'all
did a good job.
No, but here, this is what we were missing. Now we were missing Witt. He broke his ankle.
Oh, Darryl Whitmore.
Yeah, Whitmore.
Oh, yeah.
That they killed us with the tight end down the middle. Remember that they killed us because Witt wasn't there. And I'm not going to even bring up Witt played the whole year. He should have been in there. A big injury. Johnny Stroya, the left guard, got hurt the first series as well, which was a big issue. And of course, I remember playing, man. I remember Coke in there battling Zorich, the nose guard, who had forearms as big as my bicep out there, and he was battling with them. And I'm like swinging at him like this. Neck. Okay, it wasn't the helmet; it was the neck, like this shots, because he wouldn't let Coke go with his grip, and Coke was trying to get up to the linebackers, but Zorich was holding on to him so he couldn't do it. So I'm just swinging like this, man. That was a battle. I'll tell you what, that was a battle. That was they were a good team. They were legit. I still don't like them to this day. All right.
I have one more question.
Yes, go ahead.
The year before, when y'all played Oklahoma State and Thurman Thomas got hurt, Barry Sanders was amazing. Was that in the snow? Am I remembering it wrong?
Al was there. Go ahead, Al.
Second half of the game, right, Wolf?
Yeah. You know what's crazy, man? Is we're down in it never snowed on Christmas Day in El Paso. And the day West Virginia goes there, it starts snowing. And it was a whiteout. And I've been talking about the field. It was what Jeff Gundy was not Jeff Gundy, right? That was the quarterback. Yeah, quarterback.
Yeah.
I still remember Don Nealon saying, "Fellas, you're not going to believe this." He goes, "They have a running back that's all American. His name is Thurman Thomas. But you know what? The guy that backs him up." And the coach said that was he introduced Oklahoma State before that Sun Bowl. He goes, "They got a running back behind him that's even better." Barry Sanders, man, legit. Hey, Coach Neal, great call. I guess you knew that one. So again, that's what we're going to talk a little bit about that because Major Harris, 6-6 Ale, his first season, he had struggles. We knew he had great talent. Remember, he had that big spring ball competition with Browning Nagel, who eventually transferred to Louisville, who eventually went into the NFL with the Jets. Because he had that huge game. So again, a lot of things that transpired. Well, we'll see. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. But the thing I got to get to with this, DP, we're going to go to you after this. I want to talk a little bit of hoops. But the first thing is, Frank, lastly, I got to talk about this deficit budget and what's happening here because this is it's very disappointing to say the least, I guess. And I want to know, man, how is this projected to have 2030 for WVU to have 15,000 total students? These guys are going ahead. They're knocking out the foreign language. They're knocking out 9% of their majors, 7% of the faculty. What is going on, Frank, with this?
Well, I think this is I am concerned, and Wolf and I have been talking about this offline. And it's making national news. And I'll tell you what, I don't buy this defer or defend or deflect argument that, all public universities are having financial difficulties. Yeah, a lot of them are. Penn State is making national news. Kansas is another one that is making national news. But nobody's making national news the way that West Virginia is because of the depth of it, the breadth of it, and what they're doing. I mean, they're talking about eliminating. Well, let me back up. universities are not all the same. West Virginia is a state flagship university. Obviously, there are only 50 states, and so there are very few of them. And they are the top of the public feeding chain, so to speak, the food chain in higher education. So to make these cuts by removing essentially almost 10% of the majors and the faculty is shocking. And also, when you think about the purpose of a university and it's the university standing globally, to cut all the foreign languages, to eliminate the foreign language requirements across the university, and to essentially terminate all the faculty involved. But it's not just there, it's all over. It's in the College of Business, the College of Law as well. And what Wolf said bears repeating is that the university's own projections suggest, or at least they're proposing, or estimating there'll be another 5,000 student loss between now and around the turn of 2030. And already the student enrollment decline in West Virginia is above the national average for universities of its kind. And I think that's the reason why Gordon Gee's contract was kept in place. And Wolf and I were talking about this. You can't pass the baton now. He's got to see this out. And I understand, and I'll close with this. A proposal was put before the legislature for supplemental funding, and that looks like it's going nowhere. And so by the end of the calendar year, I think these cuts are going to be in place. And as an alum, I'm very, very concerned about this, even though this is a sports show.
DP, go ahead. You're a alum.
I don't know what's going on. I mean, like, it's like a ripple effect. It's affecting, sports. You win, people come. You know what I mean? Like, people come to winners. You know what I mean? Like, they say sports don't have nothing to do with it, but the more you win, it seems true. Like the popular the school becomes. You know what I mean?
Listen, hey, 1988. Remember, we had a great basketball season. You were there. Okay, yeah. You had a great basketball season. We went undefeated in the regular season in football. We had the best combination of both sports that year, and we had our biggest increase in student applications in 1989. Biggest jump, if I remember right. If not that, it was, at the time at least, it was the biggest jump. Maybe they surpassed that in years since, but I know that because then of basketball and football.
Yeah, then you don't have no rivalries amongst the games. Now, like people want to go to games, they come to the home game, but sometimes these kids want to go to the away games too. And they can't hop on a plane for 2 or 3 hours to go to a game, just go to one game and try to fly back the same day or the next day because it's kind of rough. You know what I mean? So, it's just like you take away the rivalries. If somebody living in Pittsburgh, we don't play them no more, and then they'd probably go to Pittsburgh because it didn't, they can't, there's a rivalry going. They just want to go against each other. So it's just a lot of different things. You don't have the Maryland, you don't have the Georgetowns no more. You don't have, all of the teams that's closer that you can get on the bus and go. Now everybody has to get on the plane, and nobody's renting no plane to go out to watch no games. You used to do that for the bowl games, but now it's like you're doing this every week, and it's not. This is a ripple effect. The sports down, and then enrollment's down. It's like a ripple effect.
Well, you're right about that. So Hawkeye, what do you do, man? I say you got to win. I keep saying. I say win or else give up. All right, because all their stats, the big two, whatever. I don't give up, but you might as well if you're going to just hold it and not do anything outside the box. I mean, come on, and now you're cutting. Now you're cutting for. Hey, listen, I had to get my my diploma. I had to have 2 years of German, baby. Guten Tag, gut Ihnen, danke gut, say gut. Okay, I'm telling you, I still had that 30 plus years later. All right, I tried Spanish the first year, and I still remember uno and dos. So I went. Go ahead, Keith. Brock, I bring it in.
I got one question. I got a question for Frank.
Go ahead,
so Frank. So with this enrollment thing, all right. So is it like I don't like what it like? Okay, is it too much going to the sports? And not enough going to the kids, or just the kids are not just coming to the school no more?
No, I mean, the point you made earlier, that's a way to respond, is absolutely supported by research. That successful athletic teams, the major ones, football in particular, basketball, when they look over time. Winning brings in not only more students, but better students. It brings in money and alumni support. So Wolf's right, win. I think the key here for WVU is really the competition that is everywhere. You're competing for students with other universities, and that's a major issue. But you're absolutely correct. Winning is it's like zinc oxide. Put it on your skin, and it heals just about everything.
You're darn right. And before I go to this next one, I want to get Hawkeye in here. Hawkeye, give us what you got here, man. I'm gonna get you focused. Go ahead.
Well, I think that, number one, how long have we been on this slide? How long have the numbers been going down?
Yeah, the data's up and down, and then ever since we joined the Big 12 for that, you could say because Stu was 9-4 last 4 years, Rich Rod was up on that before that, so it happened with data. And again, he won 10 games in 16, so I mean, he was up and down.
No, I don't mean on winning and losing. I'm talking about the decline in enrollment, because that's the big question. We've lost $45 million, and nobody seems to can really pinpoint it. So the university may have been top heavy for quite a while. As you lose students, you're still keeping all this faculty and all these programs. So there's no balance. You're real top heavy here. You've got to get it. You got to get it back balanced.
Yeah, and
that means.
And the challenge, Hawkeye, going back to Darryl's question, is West Virginia is one of those schools where very, very little money. Remember, now West Virginia has an athletic budget. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. About $105 million of revenues. Most of that money comes from athletic sources, conferences, media, et cetera, ticket sales.
Right.
And I think only like $3 million, I maybe not be right specific, but only $3 million of the budget, which is obviously less than 3%, comes from the general fund. And so, yeah, the athletics and academics are connected. In response to Wolf's question, win, you'll get better students, more students, et cetera. But it's not as though, and I think a lot of the public is confused about this, it's not as though we got to cut the languages because that money's going to Neil Brown. That's not the way the world works. That's not the way. Now, if you're at a smaller school, I'll throw one out in Michigan. If you're at Central Michigan, you need a lot of money from the University General Fund to balance your athletic budget. But in a place like Penn State, West Virginia, Ohio State, I don't think at Ohio State, and I think at Penn State, not a penny from the general fund goes into athletics. It's completely paid for by athletics. So, and I think the answer, decisions are made, I think, Hawkeye, to put this in place, to put that in place, to attract students. You keep on growing, and after a while you look around, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe what my credit card bill was this month. Did we go out that much and eat? Did we take that 2 trips this month? And it catches up with you. It catches up.
Would you not agree though that if they're looking at these programs and there's only X amount of students in the program, and you've got a faculty chair and you've got 9 people under them, that you're paying all these salaries, and you know, Frank, that some of these salaries are quite inflated as they get tenure. These salaries grow. Would you not agree if you've got 35 kids in a program with 14 employees in the program, you've got to make some tough decisions?
Well, you're right. And I'll tell you it's something else. And this is, again, you guys have been, you've known me long enough to know that I just don't give opinions. I always ask, are there data to support what I'm saying? And I'll tell you, the charts show it very clearly. The rise of the administrative class in higher education is mind-blowing. I was an administrator. I was a vice dean at Michigan State. There are so many administrators. You've got not only deans, you got vice deans, you got associate deans, you get this and that. And those are the big salaries, really big salaries.
Right.
Because a lot of it,
You're right.
So whatever WVU did to get them into this situation, they're not going to hold a press conference and tell us stop doing it or do it as much.
Wait a second. Okay, so I want to get to this here. I got to move out here, but let's say, all right. First of all, Frank, you're taking too much money out of academics. All right, that's just bottom line. All right, you're the guy. All right, you're the problem. No, but honestly, the problem is I left West Virginia athletics a year ago, a little over a year ago. We had, for the time I started, we had one AD, the head AD. Okay, we had another one. We have a total of 3 athletic directors in the whole department, and now there's 15.
There you go. See, I rest my case.
Everybody's AD. Matt Wells is an AD, so AD of extension outside, all that. It's the way of the world. They're just following what everybody else is. But that's the problem, is you got all of that. You're exactly right. But let's go ahead. I got to roll this. I got to get DP going here, or else he's going to drive me crazy. He wants hoops. And let me see. I got to figure out where that thing is here. Not mute. Right. Hang on. Go ahead. I'm trying to do that. There we go.
My name is Darryl Prue. Played at West Virginia University back in the late 80s. I come from Washington, D.C. I was entered in the Hall of Fame here at West Virginia in 2019. Started coaching after my playing career overseas. I started playing in 2001. And I started coaching at Georgetown University in 2004. And I had a chance to develop some guys there. Some names you might be familiar with is Roy Hibbert, Jeff Greene, Greg Monroe. A few years ago, I did another camp with J.R. Toothman. It was a great success. Then COVID hit, so everything shut down because of that. I told him I would be in town this past weekend with the ABL alumni game. So I was asked to coach, and I was all in.
Nice video.
Yeah, I played that because I thought it was so important. Because DP is always out there and he's always doing what he can to help. And I wanted to make sure. And Toothman's a good brother. We're talking about him. But hey, before I get into the WVU hoops, all right, DP, say his name for me.
A cook.
A cook.
You say his name for us.
No, I'm going to say, I'll say a kook, like a cook. And I don't know. Go ahead. All right, tell us this now. We got him here. All right. So the second grade experiment is WVU basketball. If you could win the best league in the country and have 10 years of total coaching experience on your staff. All right. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell me what they got here with this guy.
So he's I don't know. He's like, you see it, 3 points, 6 points a game. You know, that's not much. He's gonna be a role player. No better than that. I don't know what the other guys are. You know how they're gonna be, but you know, like it goes back to like a program, just like Frank said. You know, some teams still build through recruiting high school players. There's no high school players that you have this year that you can, you know, have a base. And at least next year they'll be ready, or at the end of this year they'll be ready. Now you keep this is an AAU basketball team, and it's an AAU basketball team trying to put it together in the next few months. Are going against other teams that's been together for 1 or 2 years. It's going to be real tough. It's going to be real tough. I mean, this guy's solid at the best. I've watched him play a couple times. You know, he's real thin. He can block some shots. He want to shoot a lot of threes. He's shooting like 20-something% from the 3-point line. You know, he's not a consistent 3-point shooter.
Yeah, what do you do with this guy when he's real thin like that and you're up? Because you know what? Because they got a strong strength program at WVU basketball. What do you do with a guy like this?
This guy's got he's got to put a cot or put a sleeping bag in the strength coach's office first and foremost.
I can't believe you just said a cot. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna say this. Before Al speaks on it, I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna be a little racial. Many Africans don't gain weight. They don't get real big. This guy, you see his body, Al, and you could be like, woo. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's gonna be hard for him to like his legs are big as my pinky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like that's gonna be tough. You know what I mean? You know.
Well, hey, Darryl, you bring up a great point because let's go back. Let's turn the clock back to the Washington Wizards, Washington Bullets.
Manute.
Manute
Manute
Bol.
Bol, was he 7'6", 7'7"?
Yep.
He looked like a scarecrow. Looked like a 7'7" scarecrow. I mean, he could play the game on the defensive end of the court. But I know what you're saying. I mean, but you have to improve his level of maybe his base strength level, his foundation. And if any weight you can put on him is going to be an asset. But the thing is, like you say, he's going to be a role player. But size does not always determine success, as you well know. And if the guy's got a skill set that can contribute and help the team, you know what? Whether he's 180 or he's 210, hey, so be it. He can contribute and be successful to help the team. But he can still get stronger. The one thing he can do to get stronger, which will improve his confidence in the paint.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I want to say something racial too, because you said it, is that German Americans can gain a lot of weight. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now.
So,
It's real easy for us to gain weight. So
Al, I was friends with Manute Bol. So
Were you
Manute
really?
Bol, so in the summertime, when I used to go home and play in the summer leagues and score those points, Manute Bol was on my team. So what they did with Manute, they made him drink beer a lot. They told him to go drink, and he would drink. He would get DUIs before our games, come to the games after getting out of jail, talking, a lot of trash. So that was their way of how to get him to gain weight, was drinking a lot of beer.
Well, hey, Jerry, you know what else? Hey, when we used to go visit and play Maryland, one Friday before we played Maryland at Maryland, I go in the weight room, the Maryland weight room, and the strength coach is in there. He's in there, Frank Costello, and he says, hey, I got a guy here I want you to meet. He says he's going to be in about 15 minutes. So in walks Manute Bol, he's 7'6", 7'7", and he goes, look at his right pocket of his Adidas sweatpants. I go, what are you talking about, Frank? He goes, look, after the workout, he's going to pull a wad of $100 bills with a rubber band around. That was his wallet. He said out of his pocket, and so he says before he finishes the workout, I'm ordering him 2 large pepperoni pizzas. Take back to the apartment to eat. And so he goes, I got one better for you. Check out the car he gets in when he leaves the gym.
The Bronco with no front seat.
No front seat. He was in the back seat of a Honda Civic, driving the car from the back seat with the front seat taken out. So that was my experience with Manute Bol. And he had a 25-pound plate, Wolf, on each side of the bar. He had 95 pounds in the bar, and he struggled to do it 8 to 10 times in the bench press.
Yeah, but try to dunk on him.
What's that?
Try to dunk on him. You couldn't do it.
No question.
In the summer league, he would average 17 points, 17 rebounds, and 17 block shots a game.
I don't doubt it.
All right. Very good. Hey, that's good stuff, man. Let's keep it rolling. All right, you see this here. What you gonna do, Pat McAfee? What you gonna do, Penn State, when GG rolls over you and the mighty Mountaineers, man? Hey, that is locker room material. I mean, I don't know. You can say that Pat's just having a good time. You can see Kirk Herbstreit laughing about it. But again, it really kind of goes back to the fact that WVU just not getting much respect. And if McAfee is an entertainer, he's funny, one of the funniest dudes I know. But I'm not laughing about this because, that's the state of our program. Of all the stuff that we just talked about today, I don't think there's a whole bunch of laughing going on here. Frank, go ahead, buddy.
You and I've talked about this, and the back and forth between Pat and Kirk, fine, doing all this, but I'll tell you, you got a 4-star on the bench.
Yeah.
I'll stop there.
He's getting all warmed up already. Frank's starting to get the juices flowing. Here we go. All right, let's go. Hawkeye, you sent me all this. Neil Brown, man, this is Athlon Sports College Football. Brown sits on the hottest seat in college football going into 2023. This is Athlon Sports opinion again, all right? The Mountaineers have recorded losing records in 3 and 4 years with Brown at the helm. Overall marks is a 22-25 at Morgantown. After a 6-4 record in abbreviated 2020 season, which I will say is that was Jared Deggy, just so they know they did go to a bowl game. West Virginia has posted back-to-back losing marks, a first for the program since 78 and 79. When athletic director Red Baker opted to keep Brown after his hire in late November, but a slow start would likely be equal to the end of Brown's run in Morgantown. And I'm saying that I'm not sure it has to be that. Now, what do you think, Keith? Go ahead, man. This is your shot.
All right. I think if somehow we manage to pull off and we beat Penn State, and we could, I mean, stranger things have happened.
Not in my lifetime.
All right, I'm trying to be nice.
Okay, no, you
Look,
say
if this guy doesn't win, Dale, he will not be here by midseason. If he hasn't, he's got to have at least 4 wins out of the first 5 or 5 out of the first 6, or the guy's history.
All right,
that's the bottom line.
Okay, Al, this DP dropped out again. Let's go with this, man. 2020 rankings.
Hawkeye, you bring a great point to. Hey, can we afford? Hey, what's the buyout now, Frank? What is the buyout?
It dropped.
Yeah, it dropped. I don't know what it is now, but it's done. Isn't it digestible, Hawkeye? I mean,
I want to say it's somewhere around 2.5 or 3 million.
Oh, it drops that low?
Somewhere around.
No, it's more than that, but because you got to consider the staff as well. But here's the deal. Hey, Al, what's the buyout of a half-full stadiums?
True. That's
true.
true.
What's the buyout again? And I'm not saying I want Neil Brown fired. I'm saying, and I think Keith is saying here, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but you got to go ahead and win. This is year 5. But I like what we've been saying all along on this show about what? About being hard-nosed, blue-collar. It's not. I've been the guy who's been the host of the show saying it, but every single person I talk to that's familiar with the program says we're blue-collar. That's our success. That's WVU. Even in basketball, DP, all right, we're blue-collar people. We work hard. We develop our players, and we get good that way. And now you hear Neil Brown. He's saying these exact things at his press conference. That's okay. You're 5, but you're hearing it. I mean, you got to say, I like that. I like it. Is it too late? I don't know. We'll talk about the Garrett Greene, Nicco situation in a little bit. But look at these rankings right here. West Virginia quarterbacks. We're last in quarterbacks. Okay, and we'll talk about that. All right, running backs. We're 5. I thought that was the best. The thing besides the offensive line and wide receiver, we're 14, so that's 2 bottom of the fields. O-line, we're 6. Wait a minute, we have all these offensive All-Americans on the offensive line, and we're 6. Something's not jiving there, and I'm going to give more. I'm going to give more favor to West Virginia than that because I know Wyatt Milam can play. I know that Zach Frazier can play. I know that Doug Nestor can play. I know Thomas Reebok can play at left guard. All right. Now, is there a question at right guard? Does Quay Hubbard he's moved the guard from tackle last year? And then Brandon Yates, who's up and down. So, yeah, I mean, but again, that's supposed to be the strength. But again, why are we getting such bad outside influences that are coming in negative on us, looking at us, and going to this right here? Let's keep it going. I mean, it's not pretty. When you move on down here, what's the next thing that you see? And I'm waiting for it. There you go. All right. Scouting the Mountaineers. What are you getting at here? Worst roster in the league. And that's from a Big 12 coach. The worst roster in the league. It says they have some talent, but they're not physical at all. They're really small, especially compared to the old WVU teams. The defense is legitimately bad. They look like a MAC team compared to the rest of the league. And he didn't fire his coaches. He's saying he's a loyal guy. He's a good guy. We all know he's a good guy. Besides that, it's a personnel issue. They lost quarterback JT Daniels and offensive coordinator Graham Harrell. Thank goodness. All right, so that's an upgrade for me, in my opinion. I think you can say that experiment didn't work out like they thought it would. True. This is never an easy job, but it's become harder. Well, okay, I think there's factors for that. They don't really have an identity anymore. Well, that's what we talked about that culture, right, Al? We talked about that, right, Darryl? We talked about building that culture, and you got to start with what? The head dude, right? Well, now I'm hearing in year 5 in the press conference, we're playing physical. We're going over the tackling drills. We're doing this. He's saying the right things right now, right? And I'm going to say this, all right? I don't think they'll be last. I really don't think they'll finish last. I really, really don't. All right, but I'm going to say this: if you're taking a team and you're building a culture and people are making fun of you, all right? I don't care what you say about Pat McAfee. He's making fun right now, all right? He's taking it lightly of his alma mater. But he's a punter. All right, he's a funny guy, whatever, all right? You know what I mean? But he's going ahead. He's doing that. and they're all having fun at WVU's expense. Kirk Herbstreit. You look at Pat McAfee, Kirk Herbstreit, two of the biggest names on game day college football is making fun of WVU. You understand what I'm saying? The two biggest names on Saturdays on game day, college game day, people are watching, they're making fun of WVU. Now, if that doesn't get you in the locker room pissed off, and a Zach Frazier who's from Fairmont, and a Doug Nestor who's down south, and you have all these guys that are – they're talking about you, man, your pride. You better be being physical, and you better be practicing on Tuesday like you want to play on Saturday. Because, Al, you don't practice or play on Saturday if you don't practice hard on Tuesday. Am I right?
There's no question. There's no question. And you can see the attitude of your team. Attitude of your team. I mean, you what is it? Practice makes perfect. No, practice makes perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And it's all attitude and mindset. And of course, when you're winning, players tend to practice harder. When you're losing, some players are searching for excuses and looking for a parachute to get out of practice. But that's what'll be determined. But I'm optimistic. The glass is half full for me.
Sure, why not?
I like the fact that you're going back to basics. I mean, and maybe they've always been doing the basics and the fundamentals of tackling and blocking.
No, they haven't.
You don't think they have?
I've watched them every day up until last year. I watched them
No,
every
and
day.
that come out of Neil's mouth too, Wolf. Neil said we're going back to basics. In that last press conference week before last, he said we're going back and learning how to tackle. We're focusing on fundamentals.
But see, Hawkeye, you bring up a great point. Hey, and Darryl, chime in on this if you would. Hey, if you're not working on the fundamentals, I mean, look at the transfer portal. Your roster is constantly changing. I'm just a dumb old strength coach, but why wouldn't you work on the fundamentals, not knowing the backgrounds or the skill level of these athletes coming in the transfer portal, and you assume they can block and tackle?
Year five, he wants to go to the basics. Like, come on, man.
Maybe too
Better
late.
late than never. No, and don't put yourself down. You're not just a dumb old strength coach. You're a dumb old Hall of Fame strength coach.
Yeah, but don't give your opponents. Don't tell them your weaknesses. Let them figure it out. If they're not smart enough to figure it out, then so be it. But I'm just saying, on game day, the teams that they're not fundamentally sound get exposed. They get exposed on basketball and football.
Yeah, the fundamentals is development.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Darryl been saying that for the last couple of years. They ain't been developing nobody.
But I'm not here to go back to the last couple of years. I'm here to talk about what's going on now. Honestly. And the data signed that letter. Mike Rounds, that's almost as funny as Loverboy today. Good job. All right. Again, let's go ahead.
I hope he didn't.
Keep this gravy train going here. All right.
How listen here, Wolf. What was he doing? Was Neil cleaning the garage and failing physicality? I mean, where's this been? What's going on here? Was he coaching ballerinas?
Okay, all right.
Hey, Darryl, I gotta go.
I hear the sarcasm. What's that?
I have to go.
Get out of here. We don't want you.
Just got here, Darryl.
I got a leak in the kitchen, so I gotta go.
Hey, you know what? Just leave that open. Interpretation. All right. So again, you want to talk about that? I'm going to tell you what it is. It's what he's been doing is that they're trying to figure out a system between how do you work a team too hard and going through a longer season than what they have. The problem is that they say they want to base it off of an NFL model. Well, the problem is you're not an NFL team. And you have to work fundamentals because that's where the NFL players are supposed to learn their fundamentals is through little league, to middle school, to the high school, to college, and then hopefully by the time they get to the NFL, their fundamentals are innate in them that they are just natural second reaction. It's automatic, instant reaction. And that's the problem. What's going on is they're not getting the fundamentals that they have. I was breaking down film, and I just keep talking about this, even the scheme, the fundamentals of schemes, not even individual work. It's just not there in the college athletics anymore. I'm pretty sure DP would agree with me, and he would apply that to basketball as well. So again, they're trying to figure out how do you go ahead, have a long season, and have a lot of depth, have we, in the last few years? So, depth has been an issue. Not only is it an issue on game day, but depth is an issue in practice when you're trying to do practices. So there's a lot of things that go into it, Keith. So I'm not going to go ahead and say, yeah, it would be real easy to jump on him and say, yeah, you know what, man? What do you mean you're talking about fundamentals year 5? Woo! That is easy. I think for me, I'm not going to I'm just trying to look at it in a way that's, listen, he's doing it now, and I'm not going to worry about 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm going to worry about what he's doing now. He's saying the right things. Is he building that culture? I want to know that. And again, if you can do that, then no matter what your record is, remember this, fellas, no matter what your record is, if you do that, then guess what? You will have, if you do that, you will have a better team than you would otherwise. All right. If you're really going to be say you're 4-8, like everybody's predicting that Founders are 4-8. Well, if you go ahead and you start this culture now, all right, you could probably be 6-6 easily. Would you not say, Al? Would you agree with that, Coach Al Johnson? That even with any kind of start, if you can develop a toughness right now, you can play above of your talent level and your togetherness. Would you not?
And no question, I agree. I mean, it just comes down to fundamentals and who can master the fundamentals and who can perform on game day with the fundamentals. But again, it comes down to the 6-inch war. What's between your ears, and are you mentally prepared for battle? And are you ready for a 15-round fight? And that's what that's what's going to come down to in a Penn State game. I mean, it's going to come down toe to toe. I mean, you're 11 against 11. You might be able to match up. You may be able to match up somewhat, but then there's guys rotating in. Yep. Will they be able to step up to the battle? All
right. And I'll play this one for you, Frank, because I want to hear what the academic thinks about it. All right. This is good right here. So you're going to get this. Let's watch this. All right. Deion Sanders controversy. Listen to this guy here. I want to hear this. All right? This is good.
Sanders is getting blasted right now. Here's why. Cormani McClain said that he threw up 7 times after a Colorado practice. And people are worried that Coach Prime is abusing these kids. College football practices have become way too brutal. Back in March, Gentry Williams was hospitalized after an Oklahoma workout. And Jahmyr Gibbs said that Nick Saban has his players in full pads in the heat for 2 hours. I know it's football, but these are still just kids. Is winning games really that important?
What did he just say? Wait a minute. Frank, no, I'm not going to let Frank answer this. Frank, okay. You're even old school, all right? Let's go back to this. 2 hours in the heat.
Hey, I'm just old. Forget the school. What I'd want to know, I mean, the easiest thing to do is turn on a camera and say what this guy said. I don't know if any of that is true. And if he says it, I would like to have it corroborated. Obviously, it doesn't make any difference what business you're in. You can't torture your employees, and that's what these players are. And there needs to be a pattern. It can't just be a one-off. Okay, well, that Thursday practice killed me, and I threw up 9 times. Is that a pattern or a one-off? So I don't know what his motivation is. But the bottom line is, one of the issues that came up at Nebraska, in fact, it started because Scott Frost said it, was that he was proud of his players chucking it up after practice because they're going to get tough. They're going to be Cornhuskers. Well, he got in trouble for that because people investigated what was going on. And it didn't make a difference anyway. Obviously, he's not there anymore. So I think that, I'm much more concerned, and it's come out in a variety of sources. Just today I read an article. That, with this travel time, with these expanded conferences, we don't think about that as being player abuse, but these kids are going to be traveling all over the place, spending a lot of time away from campus and studies. So, is Deion Sanders, basically pushing his players too hard? Who the heck knows? And who cares unless it's a pattern?
I'm going to tell you this. You're right about that. Al Johnson, I'm going to tell you, man, you killed me, bro. You know what? I almost died because of you pushing me out in the heat. You made me push my Jeep around the parking lot. You made me push that. You know what, man? That's too hot. Can you imagine Mayor Bryant saying those kids are out there 2 hours in the heat?
Oh,
Yeah, and Wolf, you're going to play the game in the heat. You're going to play it in the heat. I mean, do we prepare an air conditioning? Do we take you up into the indoor? You know, it's going to be 90 that day, so we're not going to do drills on the field. We're going to take you in the indoor where it's a little bit cooler. There's no direct sunlight on you. I mean, that's the thing. You know, the days of coaches measuring the success of practice or workouts by throwing up, those days are gone. They're archaic, and those are the wrong. That's old school thinking. You know, I can still challenge you and push you and take you to the limits without putting you in harm's way. And I think that the number one thing, I mean, I think all coaches need to be very, most issues with, I mean, you look at high school sports, you look at high school football. There are more deaths in America in high school football and high school sports than there is in collegiate and professional sports combined. So what I'm saying is that, the health and safeguards of the athlete is first and foremost. And I'm sure with all these coaches, but look at Dion, like what Frank was saying, was that just a one-off? And the thing was, he's coming in there to see, he doesn't know his team. So I'm sure he's pushed them a little bit harder just to find out who wants to be there. He's trying to trim the fat off the team. And those who stay, what's the saying? Those who stay will be champions.
Yep, no doubt about it. Keith, go ahead. You got a shot, and then we're going to go right to Garrett and Nicco.
Just real quick, kind of what Al was talking about with the deaths in high school football. Coaches used to say, guys, get out of the air conditioning in July, get out here and get acclimated, start running. A lot of these high school kids come in, they are so out of shape, guys. And it doesn't take much to get them overheated. It doesn't take much, and the next thing you know, it's catastrophic. Now, you want to talk about how tough football – think about Bear Bryant and the Junction Boys. That was horrible. That was brutal. But if you run a guy till he throws up early in the year, that just says, hey, this guy's out of shape. Now, if you're running a guy in week 6 till he throws up, you're crossing the line. You're pushing a guy too far then. But early on, I can see guys throwing up.
Well, I want to say this, and remember this. In college, by far, the head trainer has a lot more power than the head coach does. And if there's something going on, they're going to pull it. And there's too many people watching it. You can't get away with it in Power 5 football. You just can't do it anymore.
Well, these guys are good professionals. And we all know that death at Maryland by the linemen, that just put the fear of God in football staffs, in athletic training staffs. There's a way to do it the right way to get the outcome you want. And I was just thinking about that. I'm glad you brought it up, Keith. Yeah, the legendary stories of when Bear Bryant was at Texas A&M. I mean, my God. There's a right way to do it. You can get the same outcomes. Tough players who are acclimated to playing in heat, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. And with that, I'm going to lead into someone put out there. Yeah, Timothy Greene. Thinking I should be the next head coach at WVU, baby. That's right. I'll do it. Just, hey, Al, you're going to be my strength coach.
Hey, I'm a walker and a game.
Hey, Hawkeye, you're going to be our dude. Like, you're going to be Danny Nealon. All right, you're going to be the equipment guy out there because you're going to get the chains out because you are a rep. And Frank, you are going to be our dude that does the academics for recruiting.
There you go.
Right?
I'll give grades.
Go back to our old jobs. All right. And with that being said, wait a minute, I just screwed that up. There we go. There, look at that. All right, fellas. Listen, man, I think you all know, if you didn't know what I said over the weekend, I believe in Garrett Greene as a really good football player. I believe that he's got some seriously good ability in some areas. I believe he'd be better served in a different position because I think that's where he could really excel at. But again, if people want to go ahead and do this, But here's the deal. This is what really bothered me over the weekend is I put this out about Nicco. Nicco's got 40-plus offers. He's a 4-star. How many 4-stars? People are like, oh, you're all worried about the stars. No, I'm talking about the 40 offers that went along with those stars. I'm talking about that Drew Allar, the Penn State head or quarterback right now. Nicco was offered by Penn State before Drew Allar was, who's a 5-star eventually. Okay, that Penn State offered him. And the reason I'm saying is he's got better talent eventually at that position. Again, the athleticism of Garrett Greene is absolutely phenomenal. Again, I say if you put him in a slot position, he could excel like crazy. And I'm going to just go over this, and I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to fight with nobody. This is just my opinion. It's an educated opinion on all the years that I've had. But I've seen Nicco. Look at the difference in height right off the bat. Look at that on that picture. There's 4 inches or 3 inches right there of difference. That means a lot when you're standing behind a 6'6" offensive lineman. Why do you think I already broke Nicco and Garrett Greene down from the Oklahoma State game a couple of weeks ago. I did it. I did it over 4 days. I did 2 days with Garrett, 2 days with Nicco. And I gave you all the positives about Garrett, all the positives about Nicco. And what I'm saying is that Garrett Greene, if I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm going to try to shut down your running because that's the best thing you do and make you pass. Now, if Garrett Greene can get better in the pocket, that's a different story. But I showed it to you on film, so I don't, if the voice of Morgantown wants to tell me that he knows football better than I do, when I break down the film and show you that as soon as the first read is gone, Garrett is trying and looking to run. Because number one is the pocket is collapsing, and there's a 3-second count, or he's out the gates running. Sometimes that's good, okay? That's good, and he can be effective. But I know this. If I'm the defensive coordinator and I know you're a one-trick pony and that either the first read is there or you're running, that's a lot easier to control than a guy who can go through his options there, that the first read's not there, hang in the pocket and go to the second, possibly even dump it off to the third. I haven't seen that from Garrett, and I'm going to leave it up to Neil Brown to decide who's best and ready. I'm saying is I've always believed, Al, you can tell me this because you're a coach, and well, Frank, everybody's got an opinion, and it's okay. But talent usually wins out. Barring any injuries, barring anything else, that talent usually works out, but it's also experience. So you could say Garrett's 4 years in the program, and he has that experience. But you can say Nicco's this is his second year in the program. But my thing is this. If Garrett is 4 years in the program, and Nicco's got 2 years in the program, and they're already equal, what does that tell you? I mean, that tells me that Nicco's got 4 more years to be successful at WVU. If they're the same, now Garrett's up here. That's an easy choice, is it not? You got to go with Garrett, and I want Garrett to be. But that's your best option, all right? But if it's right here, why are they rotating right now that they haven't called out a declarative one? You say, well, they want competition. I don't care about competition for that way. You're going to sit there and you're going to know. If I rotate, I know that they are rotating 1s and 2s. I know they are rotating 1s and 2s. Okay? You can say I haven't declared a first teamer yet, but you can sit there and still get, you're with first team and you're a second team. When a first teamer is declared, he's going to be running with the 1s. Al, am I right?
No question. No question. Yeah, it's going to be evident to everyone around you, the team, players around him, and the staff.
Yep. Okay, and I'm going to keep going because this is going to bake this on me, all right, because I'm going to take all the heat. Frank, if you have a 4-star quarterback and he's sitting on the bench and the other guys got another year, in today's age, okay, are you going to think that kid's going to leave?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know what this reminds me of, because we all think about, is there, for instance, again, use a Michigan State example because, that's where I was. But Mark D'Antonio was faced with the same situation. They recruited a guy who was a 3-star out of West Michigan by the name of Kirk Cousins. He was not heavily recruited. He wanted to go to Iowa, but he was a 3-star, came to Michigan State. We know him now because he's been successful as an NFL quarterback, just tremendous. Now, They tried hard to get another guy to West Michigan who I think was a 4-star named Keith Nicco. Keith Nicco went to Oklahoma, competed for the starting job and didn't get it. And so he comes to Michigan State. He transfers from Oklahoma. They go through spring training, spring practice, and believe it or not, guess what happens? You look at that picture you got right there. Number 8 is Kirk Cousins. He gets the quarterback job. And number 6, okay, GG, is Keith Nicco. He plays flanker. And if you go to YouTube, just bring up the end of the Michigan State-Wisconsin game at Spartan Stadium. State's down. They're going to lose the game. It's a Hail Mary pass from about the 40, their own 40. He heaves it to Nicco. Cousins to Nicco. Nicco grabs it, fights off 2 defenders, big guys, linebackers, and scores the winning touchdown. And that happened because of a coaching decision that really, in terms of a full-fledged talent, even though he was only a 3-star, Kirk Cousins was the better quarterback. So I think my own opinion is I have nothing against GG. I read that Voice of Morgantown article. I think you got to give Garrett Greene a chance to start. There you go. I agree with Mike is a smart guy. I agree with Mike. I think you got to go start with him. But I would be a bit surprised what you said earlier, Wolf, becomes reality. Garrett Greene's too talented not to be on the field.
Absolutely.
But as quarterback, I think this is where you got to go with Nicco eventually, and he plays flank. Garrett.
Well, there's no doubt. All right, Hawkeye, go ahead and give us your take.
Well, we've seen this before, Wolf, and I would suggest that Garrett maybe call Sills and ask him how that worked out for him. This kid's got tons of talent, but I don't know if quarterback is the position for him. If he wants to go to the next level, I think he needs to make a move. Nicco passes the eye test.
Yeah, I think he's been told that. I don't know if he really cares at this point, honestly.
Well,
and I'm just
that's
being honest.
That's up to you. Well, that's fair enough. But yeah, I think you give Garrett the opportunity against Penn State, and that's a tough one to pull the kid out of and let Nicco take over the reins. I think, in fairness, you give Garrett 3 starts and see what happens. That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's a good opinion, and everybody's opinion is respected. I dropped the link if anybody out there wants to come on and be respectful. If you want to come out and give your opinion, this is what it's about. Join the conversation, Mountaineer Nation, and I mean that. But I'm saying this, okay? You have a 4-star quarterback. I'm not saying play him over Garrett Greene if Garrett Greene is better. Never, ever would I ever do that. And if Garrett Greene is winning, I'm not going to say pull Garrett Greene because of Nicco, because you just can't do that. That's not the way to run a football program. Your players won't respect you if you don't play the best player. Okay, and I'm not talking about just not those 2 quarterbacks. I'm talking about the team. The team wants the coach to play the best player. You'll lose a team in trying to retain a 4-star quarterback if you were to do that. So obviously, I am not saying that. What I am saying is that right now, they seem to be very equal. Okay, that's what Neil Brown is saying. So I'm taking this head coach, okay, for his words. And when I'm saying that, if they're equal, then why in the heck, if you're trying to go ahead and build for a future, why not? Go ahead and go ahead and play Garrett. I'm okay with him. I will not be surprised if Garrett Greene is starting at Penn State. I would also not be surprised if Nicco started at Penn State. And I'm telling you why. Because there's a bigger upside in a future. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm on the hot seat, this is what my plan. And you might say this is a little bit sneaky or whatever. If I don't think that my quarterback that I have starter, who has 5 touchdowns last year and 3 interceptions, he's never had over 55% completion percentage. Okay? Yeah. Everybody's like, well, he had 3 touchdowns against Kansas State throwing the ball. Yeah, he also had 3 picks last season. When you got 5-3, I don't call that numbers of the dude waiting in line. All right? What I'm saying is that we've been through this with average quarterback play. Jared Deggy, and everybody's saying, hey, Wolf, you stuck your guns with Jared Deggy. Yeah, because honestly, Garrett Greene was a freshman, and he didn't even understand. He was a baseball player that was an athlete, and he didn't even understand the system. I mean, Jared Deggy's playing the Canadian Football League right now. I don't know if you guys know that, but he's up in the CFL. So, I mean, I guess he doesn't suck. That's what I would say. He doesn't suck because I don't think the CFL would take him and play him. But if you're looking at Garrett Greene, and you just said that about David Sills, if I see a quarterback that runs, okay, and there's a team that's going to run, I'm going to say, this is what I would do. I'll tell you, I know what the Pats coach would do, the Patriots. Who's that, Keith? The Patriots coach. Go ahead.
Belichick.
What's that?
Belichick. Bill Belichick. Belichick.
What does he do? What's the number one thing he does? He takes away the best thing you do. He says, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me with number 2 or number 3 thing you do best. So what I'm going to do, if I'm Manny Diaz at Penn State, Frank, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, well, it looks like you got a good offensive line, a good defensive line, and we got good linebackers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that we stop the running backs, and we stop a quarterback that wants to pull at 3 seconds. You know how you do that? You put a spy on him. You put a spy out there on him, and you make this quarterback who has not proven he can stay in the pocket and pass. Okay, that's what I would do. And then plans have to change and adapt from that point on, no matter how that quarterback lands. So if you want to go with Garrett Greene at Penn State, 107,000 people, because you think he's there and you think he's really better, I want to know is where are the stats that prove that Garrett Greene is better? Now, I know what the coaches think because I know the coaches. And I know that right now they're rotating 1s and 2s because they haven't named a starter yet. I mean, truly have not named a starter yet. And Garrett Greene might be the starter. So I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, what are the stats that proves that Garrett Greene is ready to go? Garrett Greene is 190 pounds. Look at the picture of Nicco there. Nicco's 225. What did Drew Fabianich, who's now the general manager and director of scouting for WVU. He's the general manager, 18 years in the NFL. 18 years in the NFL. He said to me in the interview, so this is not a secret, this is on this show. He said, I don't like small players. Why don't you like small players? Because they get hurt easier than bigger players. And when you have to invest in a smaller player, it's a different thing. Okay? Again, I am not here to tear down Garrett Greene. I'm here to say what I believe that Nicco has to offer. Again, if Neil Brown says that Garrett Greene's more ready to play against Penn State, I'm going to believe him. And I'm going to support Garrett Greene. I'm going to support him. This is what I really want to say is, but fine. If you're going to do that, that's fine. But you better have a plan, a contingency plan to keep number 2 happy. Okay, whether that be NIL, whether that be something. Because you can say, well, we're not going to cater or hit his ego. It's not about ego. This kid wants to play football. He's been offered by 45 schools. Now, there's schools right now he could walk onto and be the starter next year, a guaranteed starter, because they want that 4-star dude that was a player. Now, if all you have to do is go watch his high school film and see a comeback that's crazy, him throwing up and throwing a touchdown at the same time. That's the type of character that this kid is. Again, I'm not tearing Garrett down. I'm not doing that. I'm saying this is what Nicco has to offer at 6'1.5", 225. 6'1.5". Okay? That's part of what makes him. If Garrett's ready to go, put Garrett in there. Again, when do you pull Garrett then if he doesn't win? If WVU struggles against Penn State, if they struggle against Pitt, if they're already, say, 2-3, 1-4, when do you pull him? When do you put in Nicco? Frank, go ahead.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important, I like what you're saying. I really am. I really do. I think one of the things that I'm thinking about, and I'm reflecting on what Keith said, what Hawkeye said, and that is that what are fans looking for? They want WVU to hang in there, be tough, maybe get away with the win in Penn State, but not be embarrassed. The worst case scenario is the Mountaineers get embarrassed over at Penn State and lose to Pitt. then I think Brown is probably not going to continue as coach because I think the response would be so negative. So what I'm concerned about actually is that one of these two guys at quarterback gets hurt, and then you don't have a choice. It's down to one. But I still think they'll start with Garrett Greene. I may be wrong. I mean, I'm just speculating, as we all are. You're close to it, Wolf. I'm not. But the bottom line is that I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Garrett Greene start, see what he can do in the first couple series, and then throw Nicco in. But you may be right. Nicco may have the edge, just like Kirk Cousins came out of the fall drills, I think it was, with the edge, and he took over for Nicco.
Al, what if I told you, Al, that Nicco had a better spring, but Garrett had a better spring game? But what we know about it, if you're not a coach or close to the team.
Yeah, I don't take much credence in spring games anymore. It's basically flag football, touch football. It's not. I don't think you can get much from that. But I agree with from what Frank and Hawkeye are saying. I think you got to start. Based on the camp, if they're equal, I'm going with Garrett. I'm going with Garrett to start because he at least has game experience. Game speed compared to practice speed is entirely different. And you're facing somebody in a different color jersey, which Garrett has done that even in limited situation. But I think you got to go with some level of experience going into a game like Penn State. But like we would all agree, the third game of the season, Pitt, I mean, that's going to be the measuring stick for this team for the rest of the season. I mean, how do you match up against your biggest rival and come out of that game? So if you're 1-1 going into the Pitt game and win that Pitt game going into conference play, then I think we got a chance to have a decent season. But if you're 1-2 going into conference play, it's a different game. But I like experience. I play experience over talent initially with the quarterback situation, and then roll him in as you need, as you think he can be inserted. Because you're hoping the moment's not too big for him. I mean, he's never played in front of a crowd like he's going to face as big a crowd as he's going to face.
Nobody has, though.
Happy Valley. He's not going to face. He's never seen that. He's never experienced that intensity level. So, not that Garrett has played in front of that big crowd either, but I'd have to go with Garrett.
Okay, hey, fair enough. And there's a lot of people that actually agree with you. I got a couple of things, but Hawkeye, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to say, listen. With me is I go ahead. I put out there. I think that Nicco is going to be the guy eventually that works through us. I get everybody gets upset. I see 50 articles out there about Garrett Greene being the starter, but Neil Brown hasn't even said who the starter is. People are assuming Garrett Greene, and I'm saying this. All right, I got big shoulders. I got a big back. I can carry my own self and take the heat. I believe the talent usually wins out, and I think it certainly will through the season. And it's okay if Garrett gets in there and plays because I love Garrett. I'll support him at any time he's out there in the field and want him to rock and roll as a Mountaineer because he's a Mountaineer brother. All right. Again, I think there's a better opportunities. But you say that. I say, Keith, that, hey, you know what? If you think the season's going south, I'm going to Ren Baker, and I'm saying, listen, Ren, if I'm Neil Brown, I'm going to Ren Baker saying, you know what? I'm going to go play my freshman. Now, you're going to have a little more patience with me than you would at anything else because I think with his growth, his potential, that he could build a team and take the hits. Major Harris was 6-6 his redshirt freshman year. 6-6. And he was actually getting plastered. Ohio State, he got plastered the first couple of games. And he came on towards the end and was extremely Major Harris by the end of that redshirt year. But guess what? The next 2 years, he was at the Heisman ceremony in New York because he took the heat. This kid's got to learn sometime. Got to learn. When do you do that? I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I know this. Garrett Greene's barely 5'11". I don't know how many Drew Breeses are out there. I don't know how many Doug Flutys are out there. I don't know how many dudes that sit behind the line. I think it's easier to figure out one-trick pony. Again, you think that people think that Garrett Greene's got a great arm. Nicco's got a better arm. Garrett Greene's never. I want the stats to show me where Garrett Greene is right now a quarterback that's above average. Because I'm a guy that showed me. I showed you, Al. I showed you in the Oklahoma State game, the first half. Garrett Greene, Marchiol came in that game in the second half, the early third quarter, and he was down 10-7. And Marchiol played a half at Oklahoma State, and they won that game. Now, you can say, well, that's because Jalen Anderson had those big runs. Yeah, it was against the same team that Garrett had only scored 7 points against in half. I mean, you can just look at it both ways. So, again, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. There's no separation there. There's not. So, again, I don't disagree with you. Garrett's not a bad choice to go in this situation at Penn State because he's older. I get it. But at the same time, when do you think about using that 4-star who's got a world of talent that, you know what? And people are like, well, you can't sit there and make that decision about it. If they're equal, I'm going to go with a dude that's got more potential than the other dude. That's the bottom line. If they're equal. If Garrett's up above, then that's a different story. And I'm going to trust Neil Brown to make that decision, at least right now. What about you, Steve, Frank?
I'm with you all the way. I think that makes a lot of sense. And by the way, when I read your post, I thought it made a lot of sense. I didn't see it. Again, you and I have talked about this. I didn't see it as criticism. I saw it as a critique of the situation. When I read the Voice of Morgantown article, I thought that was just a cheerleading for Garrett Greene. And quite frankly, I think creates more of a divide than it needs to.
I would say that's a weird noise. Hawkeye, go ahead and finish up. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let you guys get off. You've been on for almost 2 hours. Gosh, thank you so much, all of you except for DP. I have no respect for him. He's got a leak in his sink. I think he didn't want to do this Garrett Greene Nicco situation, so he conveniently had a leak in the sink. But all right, Hawkeye, go ahead, man. Because you're a referee now. You've watched a lot of football in your time. Maybe not always great football, but you've watched football.
True. Well, a couple of things. First off, unfortunately for these two quarterbacks, they are playing to keep a coach in a job.
Yep. Number one.
So, and I think they understand that. Number two, you're opening up in the biggest game, the most hostile environment you could possibly as a first-time starter for either one of them. I mean, imagine that. You're going to Happy Valley, whether it's Nicco or whether it's Garrett, and it's going to be trial by fire, Dale.
Yep.
They are going to unleash the beast on whoever's back there because neither one of them's proven. They are going to blitz. They are going to show them so many different looks. It's going to be overwhelming. I think Nicco, he's the prototypical quarterback, man. He's your drop back passer. He's got legs. He can run. He can throw the long ball. He can make a defense be honest. Garrett, I'm not sold on his deep ball. He's more of a intermediate passer, but he's got happy feet. And you're right. If his first read's not there, he's going to tuck that ball and run. And at his size, how many big hits is he going to be able to take through the course of a game? And I'll leave it there.
I was just saying, but one. And, it's okay. Listen, Garrett Greene is a starter. God bless him. I'm a Mountaineer. I'm going to support him. And I'm just saying is one-trick ponies are a lot easier for me as a former defensive coordinator for me to stop than having a guy who's got multiple options that goes ahead. If Garrett truly improves in the pocket passing from the spring game, from the Oklahoma game, from the Oklahoma State game, then that's a different story. And, so that lets to be stated. I'm going to trust Neil Brown, but I'm saying eventually in the long run, if Garrett Greene plays this whole season and Nicco doesn't, and Garrett's number one, Nicco will be gone. We all know that. This is today's game. Just today's game. And my whole other thing is that, Frank, how many 4 stars did we see in the Big Ten? How many 4 stars did we see in the SEC? I showed you that yesterday, the number. And how many 4 stars in the Big 12?
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
that many. Not that many.
No, there's not. No, that's that, and again, that's not a matter of opinion, Wolf.
That's fact.
Those are the data. Period. You may argue about maybe the star system is overblown, but the fact of the matter is it's a system we have, and there really isn't a comparison. So, and with schools trying like heck to get climb over each other, 4 stars don't go to school to sit on the bench.
No, not today's day and age. And if you say, well, we don't care about that, well, then you're not paying attention to what's going on around you.
Sure.
And you're not caring about what's going to happen to your program. Because, you know what that is? Did you ever see an ostrich? They go ahead, they stick their head in the dirt because they can't see you. They think because you can't see them. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like what it is. Like, we can stick our head in the dirt and think that our problems go away. It's not. So, again, thank you, gentlemen. 2 hours, good enough. I'm going to say, Al, you got close it out, brother.
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
Close it out.
Well, hey, tell you, it's been a great show. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. But I think it's a lot of good information put out there today. A lot of good information. I think that I'm excited. Football's 2 weeks away. And I think that I just wish football could be 49 to 50 weeks a year. Unfortunately, it's not. Well, some people have tried it with the arena ball and the spring league and the USFL, et cetera. But I think this will be an interesting season. I think Mountaineer fans have just got to hang in there, and they've got to keep believing and staying positive. A lot more things can happen with sugar than it can with manure. And I think that this could be there could be some don't base this season on the past 4 years. Base it on what you see up front the first game and try to stay the course and stay positive and keep believing in the team, because these 18 to 22-year-olds, they need your support. The most saddest thing you see in sports is when you see fans boo a quarterback who throws a pick, or an offensive tackle misses a block, or a safety misses making a play on a ball and a guy catches a touchdown, and the fans in the stadium, 60, 70,000 people, boo that athlete. To me, that's so short-sighted and short-minded. But stay positive and stay with the team.
That's Skylar Howard. All right, Hawkeye.
I like what Al said. I mean, we got to support this team. We may not agree on how things are being run, who's starting, but we have to support the players. They're the ones out there putting the effort out. And as long as we're getting the effort, I'm going to support whoever's taking the snaps, whatever position they're playing. I'm going to support this team.
All righty. That's good words. Frank Fear.
Those guys said it all. I just want to say amen. Absolutely. Kudos, guys. Al, Hawkeye, you just you nailed it, both of you.
And I'm going to say this. You know what? Go play your can off and give it everything you have. Play for your brothers. Play for your coaches. Play for all the people that support you. Play for yourself. And if you do all that, then you can accept whatever happens. Accept whatever happens because you're giving it your all. Every repetition that you had before that, everything that you've done, every fundamental, every tackling drill you worked on, every time you thought that it was too hot or too long to practice, or you were throwing up, all these things together. If you got to overcome all that, you can overcome that as a team, and then you have a shot. Maybe not Penn State, maybe not, some of the other big games. But if you could be better than what you have been just by getting tougher and playing together. And again, Oklahoma State, I will say this. Neil Brown had those guys. Remember, that was the last game of the season last year. He had them playing hard. They didn't play great, but they played hard. And because of that, they won. And that's something and a lesson that should be taken by all, including Wahir, myself. So remember all that, and thank you guys for that. Take care now. We'll talk to you real soon. I'm sure we'll all be coming up with more conversations, more heat. I'm sure I'll be tweeting out something that more people want to get all upset about. But you know what? It's always the truth with us. We're not afraid to tell the truth, and that's the way the show is. And the truth is we see it anyways. But that's just our opinions. And we're certainly here to support WVU. And I promise every single person, Garrett Greene out there starting, I am 100% rocking. See that kid succeed, that young man succeed. 100% rocking. Don't think that's not what I am. I have been here for 40 plus years. I'm looking up. I really believe that WVU needs to start winning now, making decisions that impact the future, because we just went ahead and spent 2 hours talking about possible future scenarios where it's not so great for WVU. But there's one way to fix a lot of things right off the bat, at least short term, and that's to start winning. And again, that gives a whole different level of prestige. And maybe we won't have the two biggest names in college football in Herb Street and McAfee making jest about WVU football and the reputation. See you guys. Have a great day. God bless. See you now.
See you guys. Take care.
Later, guys. Take care.
See you guys.
Alrighty. Well, whew, boy, I tell you what, man, that was something else. A lot of conversation today, a lot of good stuff. There's just so much going on, and again, so much to think about. WVU heading in here. The good news is that pretty soon football is to be played, and when that happens, it changes a whole lot of things. Unless it goes real bad. But we're not going to think that way. Football is fun. Football is good, and we love our Mountaineers. Anybody want to jump on? I put the link out there, and you have a chance here. Patsy, I didn't see all that you were put in there, but man, you got some good things going on. Can the offense do their job? Yeah, I think they can. I do. I think they have a good offensive line. I find it funny though that so many different people had these different rankings and different outlooks about WVU, but at the bottom line, I think that Neil Brown. Remember, he's made some really successful moves here lately. One is a guy named Drew Fabianich. Excuse me. It's Fabianich. My apologies, Drew. And he's the general manager and director of scouting. I had him on this show. This is a position that there's only 10 in all of college football. That means that WVU is ahead of the curve. I cannot say that I recall too many times where WVU has been ahead of the curve. And this certainly is one of them. I think this could have a major impact, bringing in the talents, the Jimmies and the Joes for Neil Brown. So I think, and retaining them as well. I think that much of this position and who they hired for that position. Anybody else? Anybody want to jump on? Anything you want to say before I go ahead and put the last call out there? The last call for the WolfMan's call. Anybody else? Patsy, thanks so much for paying attention and paying attention to the whole conversation. God bless you. Mike Rounds, I don't know if I put this out here. You say, Garrett will start, but Nicco will become the starting quarterback for the Mountaineers. Okay. Good stuff. I can't argue with any of that, man. Can't argue. And I will not argue the fact that Garrett could be starting. And if he does, I want him to win. That's, I guess, is all I'm going to say. And we'll leave it off. Almost 2 hours today. Ooh, gotta go ahead and get in these commercials here at the end. And thank you for paying attention. I got a big day tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Mark Rogers. He's actually the voice of College Football Network. He's got 26 different channels, Voice of College Football. Do you know that on YouTube, covering football, college football, the voice of college football, his network is the number one rated coverage in network over ESPN. Oh, believe it or not, that's what it is, and that's because we got him. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock, Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. He knows it all. I mean, he really does. He covers the whole country. He's Big 10, he's Pac-12, he's Big 12, whatever, the Big 16 now. He's ACC. He knows college football, and he knows the top issues. Can't wait for that. Also, think we're going to have a special guy on Thursday coming in, and I'm really excited about this one. Big follow. We got some big guns this week. Big guns always here. Wolfman's Call. We're here to bring you the best that we can. All right, everybody. Nobody else is jumping on, so no, join the conversation, Mountaineer Nation, because there's just nobody else. So with that being said, that really was Loverboy.
Hi, I'm Traylon Davis. I'm from Jackson, Ohio, and when I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Northern Eagle Distributing, proudly serving Anheuser-Busch products to West Virginians. Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia, always in stock. How many? The anywhere, anytime chargers, powering a connected world. Never buy AA batteries again. Rechargeable 500 times plus. Paul Mini AA USB lithium battery, as easy to charge as your cell phone. Sustainable energy, stay charged. Go green, save green. Feel the power of Paul. Order now at paulmini.com.